Do you think if we were guided more as kids, we maybe would not have made as many mistakes as an adult?
Maybe. I did make a lot of dumbass decisions that probably could have been avoided.
Right. Same. But, without those decisions or the lessons that we learned from them, you wouldn't be the same fun loving sister that you are.
That's true. So maybe mom's theory was to just let us figure it out on our own so we could become the absolute legends that we are today.
She made a great choice. I think we have a lot to unpack in this episode. Hello, and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and this is my sister Casey, and we are your hosts.
In today's episode, we will discuss learning lessons the hard way. We will also discuss the ins and outs of how we try to encourage the younger generation while letting them learn life lessons. Let's get started. So, I feel like I forgot to hold for the applause.
Yeah, come on. Our studio audience wanted to jump in there.
With kids, raising kids who are now adults, though young adults, right? I just want the best life for them possible. But I can't stop life from happening to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have kids, but I can feel you, right? For my nieces and nephews to watch them have to go through something hard, it'll hurt my heart, I don't want you to have to feel that pain. I don't want you to have to learn that life lesson.
Right. And I know for us, our oldest niece, she's 10 years younger than me. So she's been an adult for a minute. It's so fun watching them and remembering when they were little and all the fun little things we did, and then watching her grow into a mom and a wife, and just watching her do her thing, and it's so fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But then when she'll talk to us sometimes about things that are going on in her life, it's just, I want to be able to stop that from happening to you, and I can't stop it.
Right. It makes you think about if you did stop it, then how could they learn the lesson? I don't know that I would have learned the lesson because someone told it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, some lessons I would have, but not all of them. I think some of you do have to learn the hard way.
You do.
But
I would say also, just with my kids, like I said, they're young adults, right? So they're 21 and almost 20. So they're in that young and dumb phase where
yeah.
you gotta let them have a good time. You gotta let them experience life. You gotta let them do their thing. But sometimes, sometimes I just want to be like, stop! Please don't do that.
Like, get your shit together.
Yeah. And
that's not how this works.
And it's difficult, and especially even, when they're going through a rough patch, things are happening, and oh man, if I could just take their place, right? If I could just step in and take their place, oh my God, I would.
Oh. Yeah.
But that's because I've already learned the lesson. I know the lesson. And I learned it from probably being young and dumb myself.
From going through it, right? Yeah, because I think about, okay, that stuff they're going through. Oh, hopefully I can guide them and give them my advice, and hopefully they'll heed it. And I get it. Sometimes, obviously, as an aunt, it's probably way different feeling than a parent. And I'm I'll acknowledge that. I do not even know the difference, and that's cool. But as an aunt, I'm like, well, I'm like the the fun one, so maybe they'll come to me instead of their parent if they're like, listen, Aunt Charlie will tell me, and maybe they'd listen. So then I try to be really understanding and not do, too much of, well, if I were you, I'd do it this way, or you need to do it this way. And I try to give a little more from the bleachers, like, oh, I mean, from up here, it kind of looks like this, or, I went through something similar, and all I can do is hope that I can guide them through it.
Yeah, I think
But I mean,
I was just gonna say,
go ahead.
as an aunt, I and it's not that obviously I care about my nieces and nephews. I just don't care about them as much as I
Not
care
as
about.
much as me, you guys. I care more than she does.
She does. She does. It's true. because because the two I really care about are the ones that I made. So
There.
I mean, I care about you all, but those two I really like and I'm really partial to for really random reasons. I don't want to get into it right now.
Go figure.
and it does with them, I think. Oh, I have with the nieces and nephews. I think, gosh, I hope I am able to guide them and give them a little wisdom here and there. I also, but with my own kids, I think you're gonna damn well listen to me because I'm your mom, and here's how it goes. And it's so ridiculous to think that, right? I mean, I know who
Yeah.
I am as a person, and I even at this age, it's not like I'm young and dumb anymore. I'm an adult, like a full
You're definitely
blown.
not young.
Watch yourself. Like I'm a full blown adult, and there are still times when somebody will try to give me advice, and in general, I just think, okay, idiot. I think I got this under control.
Like, I think that's how we learn. I mean, I don't want to say it's the hard way, but if we, in our heads, say we think we know better, and so if we don't try it the way we're thinking it's going to work, then we're always going to sit there and wonder, oh, would that have worked instead of me listening to that stupid old grandma or something that told me to do it this way? And I was like, oh, okay. And and I did. And then I'm like, oh, well, that went too easy. I bet my way would have worked. I didn't have like I wouldn't say regret, but you think about it the whole rest of your life. Wonder what would have happened if I'd done it my way the first time.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, if you were to be able to stop them, then they don't have their own personal stories from the bad things happening.
Right. It's true. I would say, as a parent, especially with the flower child who is, she's a little bit like me in a few ways.
But
And
smidge.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, let me stop you from making the mistakes I made. Let me stop you from that. And I'll be honest though, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, my kids are actually fairly good at listening to me advice wise for the most part. Not on everything. On some things, they're just like, Mom, you're a moron, and we're going to do whatever we want anyways. So shut up. Stupid old grandma.
Yeah, she don't know what she's talking about. She's never lived my life.
She don't know shit.
Yeah, I think maybe. Well, maybe it's part of paving our own paths, right? No one could possibly understand what we're going through. so they wouldn't want to take advice.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say I don't even really think she's making mistakes. She's doing pretty awesome.
She is doing pretty awesome. Don't worry, life will get there for her. Okay. I was about to say, don't worry, life will kick her in the ass soon enough. That's so negative. Why would I even say that? A, I would never want it to kick her in the ass. Obviously, none of the kids. I never wanted to kick any of the kids in the ass. But instead of looking at it in that bad way, how do you make that switch into just looking at those negative situations that might occur and saying, what a growth opportunity this is.
Yeah.
What a chance to learn a new lesson.
Yeah. What I think is because when things happen to you personally, I still can, depending on the situation, I don't look at it immediately as, oh, what an excellent time for me to grow. Thanks for the opportunity. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like,
right.
Son of a bitch, right? Just how's this happening right now? So to make that switch of looking at, your kids, your nieces and nephews and things that are happening to them and trying to make that, click like, well, it's a good lesson for them to learn. It's a good time for them to challenge themselves. And I just think, shit, man. Okay.
I'll tell you what, I sure shit don't want to hear that when I'm going through it either.
Oh, yeah.
They're really tough times. So it's like, what a great opportunity to grow for yourself. I'm like, screw you. Stop. So I don't think like even with some stuff in my own life, I wouldn't say recently, but in the past like 6, 7 months that I've had happen, I still had to spend those few weeks processing it before I was really able to be, okay, you're going to get a lesson out of that. And that's because I've changed the way I view a lot of stuff in the world. But, someone in their late teens to early 30s isn't always going to view it that way, unless maybe the adults around them were helping them see it that way as they were growing up.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was going to say is it's just, I love my life. I love, so much about it. And
Same.
I know the shit that I had to go through to get here. I know the prices that I've had to pay and the hard times and the struggles, and in order to get where I'm at and to be who I am, I wouldn't necessarily be this way had I not had those situations.
Yes. There was, oh man, I don't know if it was a movie, a book, who the hell knows. Some time ago that was, if you could go back and change something, knowing what you know now, and you can go back and change it, what would you change? And part of me thinks to myself, I don't know that I would change much because I really, really like who I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I change some of those situations, those are what made me this way. Gaining a voice and being able to stand up for myself. I had to go through a lot of the shit I went through in order to build that for myself. That younger generation, if we were able to actually stop life from happening and we could take all that pain away, in the big picture, we'd really just be stopping them from becoming who they're going to become.
Yeah, taking away their stories. So I saw a meme, and it's been a while back, right? So I'm not going to remember exactly the wording or whatever. But it was just kind of along the lines of wisdom usually comes from a painful experience. And so if somebody's willing to share that advice with you freely, just rest assured that it's been paid for.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of those, where you got to think about You don't get to be old and wise without being young and dumb, right?
True that. True that. Because yeah, it is. It would take away your stories. It takes away your experiences. It takes away who you become as a person. If someone were to be able to take all that away from you, if I could stop every one of our kids from ever having to go through a heartache, God, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, oh, I'd love to do that. But again, yeah, you're going to take away their stories, or you're going to take away them becoming who they are.
Right.
But no, as that older generation, looking down, I think we got to keep that in mind, because I still do enjoy talking to older people and getting some stories and hearing things they've gone through, and like just piecing some of that together
Mm-hmm.
and listening to some of that advice. And as I've gotten older, I probably take a little bit more of that advice now too than when I was younger. Um, but I've, just have to maybe remind ourselves that, hey, maybe they don't, those kids that are 18, 27, 25, that age range or whatever, maybe they don't want to listen to an old fogey who doesn't get things these days.
Right.
I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know. Like, share when you think they're going to listen or when they seem interested. But if they don't, also you can't push it on them.
yeah. You
Right.
can't just and there's been a lot of times recently with the old Sonny boy
Hmm. Right. Right.
where I and I will say this is a growing opportunity for me too, right? Because I have to remember he's not his dad.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he's young and he's doing things.
Learning.
And it's okay. He's having fun. It's not hurting anybody.
Yeah. He's not robbing banks or killing people or anything. So it's,
I mean, not yet.
he's,
So we're good. We're good.
yeah. Yeah.
You know the what?
He set himself up for some life lessons.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so funny though because those two have just flip flopped. Because in say their teen years, it was always the flower child that was just giving me a hard time. And God bless, wouldn't I mean I could have told her the sky was blue, and she'd have been like, "You're the stupidest person I've ever met." So the sky's purple, clearly. Stop talking to me. And but I mean, so take for example, she had said something to me one day about, man, whenever Sonny Boy was this age, his curfew was 2 a.m. I was like, yeah, because I was trying to get him to go out. I was trying to get him to go get in trouble a little bit, and he wouldn't do it. And so, yeah, I know what his curfew was, and that doesn't matter. It's not your
You're like,
curfew.
you don't need encouragement in that area.
You don't need to get in trouble. You don't need to be out that late. Whereas now, I'm like, okay, Flower Child, we got to keep an eye on Sonny Boy, and you're the responsible one now.
Right.
So
Isn't that funny? I mean, they,
I saw the other day. I was like, oh, and there I was thinking Sonny Boy was going to be the easy one. So yeah,
they tricked you.
we hit adulthood and did the flippity flop, and here we are.
Well, and it's funny when you said that you have to remind yourself that he's not his dad. I think too, in when I watch, and it's not just my nieces and nephews, like it is a lot with them because we are kind of tying this with the younger generation, but it's friends as well. They go through stuff, and I have to remind myself that they're not me.
Oh, yeah.
Just right, just because they're starting down a path that sounds pretty similar to something I've been through, it does not mean that their emotions are where my emotions were at, or that they don't have better coping mechanisms than I did in that same exact situation. Or like I have to remind myself of that too
Oh,
when
yeah.
I am trying to give it and not just, make that assumption.
Absolutely. I agree with that because as I've talked about, like with Flower Child, I say she's just like me. She is, but oh man, she's way cooler and way smarter than I ever was. So,
But don't even say that about yourself. No one could be cooler than you are. I mean, she's cool, but seriously, she doesn't need her horn tooted anymore.
that's right. We're gonna say she's all right. She's kind of cool, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she's fine.
She's kind of gross sometimes.
Yeah.
But I have to remind myself I mean, she's smarter in a lot of areas than I ever was at that age. And just more mature in her way of thinking about things, a lot of things. And so I have to remind myself she's not me, and so she's not going to make the same mistakes I've made. She's gonna go her own
Yeah.
path. Uh,
Oh, yeah, she's gonna make her own mistakes.
I mean, her mistakes
She's gonna
would be
make
like
some
I
different
slept
ones.
out in the woods and got attacked by a bear. So those are
Yeah.
kind of mistakes she's made.
It's just, what I was thinking is, as you were saying about, she's smarter, she handles stuff differently. And I was thinking, well, duh, because you raised her, so then it changed her thinking process and things she went through as a child to deal with. So, in not having that opportunity to ask, say, our grandparents, I wonder if they felt the same way about how our mom did stuff. And then if our mom felt the same way about how you're doing stuff, like every generation gets a little bit better at it because we learn, right? We just keep learning and then we're sharing that knowledge down. Each generation's getting a little bit more of it.
Yeah, a little bit smarter each time.
Yeah. Which also means I think they're having a lot less fun.
I was
Except
thinking,
Sunny Boy. I don't know. He seems to be doing fine. I'm kidding. I think all the boys are doing fine right now with the fun part.
I think it was so funny when you said, the flower child and how she's not gonna make the same mistakes as you because you're the one that raised her. And I was like, yeah. And so she was like, man, I know exactly what I don't want to be like. Crazy bitch.
I don't want two kids tying me down.
Definitely not.
Look how long it took mom to get in her dream of the motorhome.
Well, we
I'm
really don't.
not waiting that long.
That's right.
Because I mean, like I would say a lot of my bigger lessons came from heartache for me, like for sure. Um, and some of them just came from hard situations with I don't know, like friendships or maybe financial choices I had to make along the way. Um, I would say I had a lot of lessons to learn, and most of them came from romantic relationships. And those are the ones where if I could stop anyone from having to learn those lessons, I would. let me just tell you what it's supposed to be like. But I wouldn't have known, if I didn't go through it. But at the same time, there's only certain amounts of advice you can take at certain ages in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, when I said earlier, I enjoy talking to older people, hearing their stories. I still sometimes I'm like, you're old. You have no idea what it's like to be this age nowadays. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you're too young for that. Okay, well, I'm clearly not because I'm going through it. Oh, that's not the way it works. And there's stuff with jobs and shit now where you have to explain to that generation of, listen, man, you don't stay at a job for 40 years and get a pension and a retirement. And yes, just get that job, get it with big companies. That is not how shit works anymore. So there is a level of having to take some of the advice that is given to you and discern whether you want to heed it or not as well.
Yeah. I've always been very discerning about who I would take advice from.
Okay.
And it's a rare person I'm going to take advice from, to be honest.
Fair.
To be
Fair.
so,
You like to learn things the hard way?
I do like to learn things the hard way, and I have to allow my kids to do the same thing, right? It's really hard to do.
So step back, you mean, and not give them advice in a time that they're clearly not asking for it either?
And that's the other thing is learning when to share your wisdom and when to just, hey man, let that shit play out. Go ahead and let it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to waste this hard-earned wisdom on someone that's not paying any attention anyway.
Dude, nothing pisses me off more than somebody who, if they've asked for advice and I've shared it, and then you just do whatever stupid shit you were gonna do anyways, don't, Jesus, don't come to me again. Because I kind of want
Okay.
to punch you in the face.
I will give you that one. Someone's like, what do you think? And you tell them, and then they do the exact opposite. And I can't believe this happened. Really, you can't? And you're coming to me again about it? Because do you recall our conversation we had 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I told you not, and it's so hard not to be, I told you so.
Oh, yeah. There's somebody in my life who asked for parenting advice on a regular.
I bet there is.
And I have advice, given it. And it's literally, I mean, I might as well just go flush that shit right down the toilet. I don't know why I bother. Right?
Right.
So stop asking me. Because all you're doing is pissing me off. So
yeah, well, yeah. At some point, do you actually want my advice, or are you just like blowing smoke up my ass?
right.
If you're clearly not taking it, why do you keep asking for it? Go do your own thing.
Yeah.
And don't involve me in it.
Yeah.
I will say too, though, on the flip side of that. Now, this is not a continuous thing, so I'm talking about a one-time thing. When you ask someone for advice and they give it, and then you still, deep inside think, no, I'm going to go with my original instinct. So you go with your original instinct, maybe it doesn't work out, and then that person comes back and they say, I told you so. That is so frustrating. I'm like, I don't need to hear I told you so. I clearly just failed at something. I'm trying to work through that, and you telling me I told you so is not helping. So shut up.
Yes. I try really, really hard to not say I told you so to people.
I appreciate it.
because I do hate hearing that. And what's funny is I will say I have asked for advice from Jaybird's dad on things here and there, right? And he if I haven't taken his advice and I've gone my own way, I'll say something about like, oh man, this and that, it didn't work. And he doesn't ever say I told you so. He says, man, if be nice if somebody would have told you a different way to do that, right?
I can hear him saying that. It's been really cool if someone told you about that before, huh?
Yeah.
I
I
can
mean,
totally hear him saying that.
somebody who's lived that experience might have had some advice to give, huh, Casey? I'm like, they might
If
have, yeah.
only.
If only I'd listened. So, yeah, we can move on.
Sometimes you're just wanting the advice to hear a few different opinions on something before you make your decision, you know? It kind of did also remind me of a saying I heard, and it really stuck with me a lot, is don't give advice when someone doesn't ask.
Mm.
And so I have been trying to put that into play a lot too. If someone doesn't specifically ask, like, Charlie, what do you think I should do? Or Charlie, what is your thought on that? I actually am trying, not the best at it. Lessons. It's a lesson, growth process here. But to really hold back and not say something unless I'm specifically asked about it.
Yeah. Well, what's that saying? We listen to reply. We don't listen to listen.
Yeah, we listen to respond instead of actually listen.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what you have to put into practice is listening just to listen. Hey, listeners, what's a piece of advice that you would go back and give your younger self?
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that. Drop us a line in the comments. Let us know. We'd like to hear from you. Our lesson learned and growth earned on learning lessons the hard way is help them learn at a young age that if they will take bad things as an opportunity to learn from, instead of life just kicking them in the ass, they'll be able to grow. And if instilled early enough, it could help with a lot of self-doubt as they get older. And don't forget, unless you're asked for it, keep your opinion to yourself.
In our next episode, we'll explore health insurance. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self.
Oh, and if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, let us know in the comments. Also, if you are enjoying our show, be sure to leave a review. It'll help others find us. And make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite listening platform to catch all our future episodes.